So if you clicked on this video, you're probably wondering how I became a $100 barber that charges $100 in a small town like Los Banos, California. And I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it. But first, I want to tell you all the bad shit I had to overcome to get here, because without that stuff, I wouldn't be here talking to you. Because without those difficult seasons, I wouldn't be sitting inside my own barbershop today. I wouldn't be growing a team. I wouldn't be charging what I charge. And I wouldn't be in a position where I'm able to pass down what I've learned to the next barber. If I only showed you the money, the clients, and the business, I would be lying to you at this point. So the price came later, but the person I had to become came first. You see what I'm saying? So this episode is not about waking up tomorrow and charging $100 for a haircut. It's about understanding that what has to happen before the market accepts that price, especially in a small town. It's about skill, professionalism, relationships, marketing, mindset, money, failure, leadership, and becoming someone people trust at the end of the day, right? And to understand where I am now, we have to go back to where I was and who I was before any of this existed. So who was I before barbering? Before barbering, I was an eager kid who wanted to learn. I didn't have some perfect plan laid out. Matter of fact, growing up, I really hated writing, right? I really hated doing it, but I had so much in my head that at some point I had to get it out. So what I ended up doing was I would draw my life out. Back then I didn't have a computer or anything like that, so I really had to just literally sit there and think about what I wanted for myself. And if somebody was willing to teach me something, I wanted to understand it. I really liked understanding how things worked and why they worked that way. I worked several different jobs and lived through different seasons of life, just like everybody else. But I worked retail, I worked agriculture, I drove trucks, big rigs, and stuff like that. I did difficult work, and I learned what meant to show up even when I didn't feel like it. Matter of fact, I almost didn't record this podcast because, well, to even set this camera up, to even get this lighting, all that stuff, it's an overthinking process for me. But I know I have to get my stuff out there somehow. Okay, and there were times as well where I wasn't necessarily happy. Like, I was dealing with what life gave me at that time, and I was just trying to make the most of it, right? But every job gave me something that I eventually carried into barbering. I showed up on time. I was reliable. I learned very quickly. I did the work even when I didn't feel motivated. Motivation is bullshit, by the way. If you're waiting to feel motivated to do anything, especially in life, you are going to have a hard time building a business. Like, I wish someone would have told me that, but no, luckily no one had to. I took pride in what I did. I understood that people are always going to be counting on you, regardless of whatever it is that you're doing. One of my main things was, if I could wake up at 4 a.m. for somebody else's business, why wouldn't I wake up at 4 a.m. for myself or for my own? Right at that point, I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing it for my business. So why wouldn't I do it for me? Right. I definitely feel like a lot of barbers have that mentality where it's like, well, I'm the barber and they should respect me. When in reality, you're here to serve people. But that's just me, right? Barbering didn't suddenly become a rescue for me. For a long time, I was working these jobs and cutting hair on the side. Cutting hair for a while was my side gig, believe it or not. It was my side gig. I didn't really think of it as like a career choice. Matter of fact, back then, people actually would look down on you because you wanted to cut hair, which is beyond me, but whatever, right? In the beginning, I wasn't charging premium prices. That's obvious. I feel like anybody with the brain can understand that that's not how things work. You don't start high. You start off very low. Matter of fact, you start off with nothing. You start off free, and then you try to gain people's trust. You try to get people your reputation out there. I would cut literally whoever gave me the opportunity. Like, I would cut up strangers, homeless people. Like, I didn't care who it was. I would do it. And at the end of the day, I didn't realize what I was doing at the time. I was building my people skills. I was learning how to cut different textures, working with different ages, kids, older men, beards, and I had some crappy scissors, and I even did scissor haircuts back then too. Believe it or not, haircuts for me was more of like a confident thing, and the more the intricate the haircut was, the better it was for me in a sense, because I knew that if the harder this was, the more I'm going to learn from it. And at that time, my biggest asset wasn't my skill set. It was my willingness to learn. Like, I really wanted to learn this shit. Like, I didn't want to do anything else, so to say. Okay. So a lot of the times when I didn't want to do something, it really would really paint that picture of like, okay, if people would tell me no, it's okay, because at the end of the day, the reality of being a beginner barber is really hard. Like, it's really hard, because not only are you having people tell you no, and you're literally learning as much as you can with what people give you, because with barbering, it's really hard to learn haircuts, because you're only able to learn as fast as you get haircuts. All right, so if you get only 4 haircuts that day, well, that's 4 practices that day. So, and at the end of the day, like, people are gonna tell you no. People say that people will say your haircuts aren't good. People are gonna compare you to better barbers. Some clients won't return. You'll make mistakes, and even after you become successful, people will still say you suck. I still get people say that my haircuts aren't worth what I'm charging, and that's totally fine. That has nothing to do with me. That's more of a them problem than anything, right? And you really have to take criticism for a very, very long time, and a bunch of people's bullshit for a very, very long time, until you finally get to a place where it's like, okay, I can charge a little more for this, right? So my first 100 client philosophy, right? My first 100 clients aren't only going to be paying me money, they're paying me an experience. So for any beginner barbers into this, you have to understand that your first 100 clients are going to be paying you an experience. Every difficult client will teach you something. Every mistake will teach you something. Every client who doesn't return will teach you something. Experience compounds way more than you think, right? There's a saying that I live by now, that just because you don't see it happening doesn't mean it's not happening. Okay. So the goal in the beginning wasn't to make the most money possible. The goal was to become the kind of barber who could eventually make great money consistently. There's no point of being a successful barber if you can't make great money consistently. That's just the obvious truth. But eventually I realized that being a good haircutter, a good barber, wasn't enough. It just wasn't. Right? So if you don't understand this, you are in the people business. Barbers, you are in the people business. And if you don't get that through your head, you're going to have a hard time making really good money. You're probably making good money now, but you can make way more money by just being a great person, a good person, or a decent person. Nobody's perfect, but as long as you try to be a decent person and treat people the way you want to be treated, you should be fine. Right? A lot of barbers think that they're in the haircutting business. Well, you're not. We're in the people business. Hair is simply the service that we provide. You can give an amazing haircut, but if you're late, disrespectful, and you're difficult to book, or more clients feel like they're an inconvenience to you, they probably won't stay for as long as you want them to. And here's what actually matters, and here's what actually clients will remember: how you greeted them, whether you listened, whether you respected the time, whether they felt comfortable, whether you remember their name, whether you remember the last conversation, whether the experience was consistent. You see, you have to build these relationships now, early on, because if you don't, then you're going to have a very hard time building them later. Excuse me. When I was building my clientele, I didn't only hand out business cards. I collected phone numbers and social media information. I followed up. I made direct connections. I remember what clients told me. I try to make people feel seen, because I like feeling seen. I mean, I'm sure you do too, right? And that's where trust and certainty comes in, right? You exchange trust, and they get the certainty out of it. Clients don't only buy the haircut; they buy certainty. Okay, they want to know if you're going to show up. They want to know if you're going to listen, if you understand their hair, if the experience will be consistent, or if they're gonna leave feeling better about themselves. And believe it or not, it's way more than just a haircut. So people that say it's just a haircut, they're lying. Because if I promise you, if you went to a business and they treated you poorly, I promise you wouldn't return to that business. That's just the obvious truth. Okay, the haircut might get someone's attention, but the trust is what builds a career. That one was hard for me to understand at first, but there's a lot of things that I feel like a lot of barbers are already doing correctly that needs to be acknowledged. And if you're already doing this already, kudos to you. Because once you understand people, you will start understanding the value. And once you understand value, your relationship with pricing will change. Okay? So now, how I became a $100 barber. I didn't wake up one morning and just randomly decide that I was worth $100. That's just not how this works. It's almost impossible. If it's just impossible. Every increase came with fear. Even when I raised my prices only $5, I had that voice in my head telling me to retreat, to go back down. You're charging way too much. What if everyone leaves? That voice showed up at every single price, every price or every new level. And here's the thing. You have to get this through your head too, because every great thing in your life is gonna come with some kind of thing attached to it, whether it be fear, whether it be uncertainty, whether it be doubt, but you have to do it anyways. One of the things that I became really good at is not listening to my emotions. And so here's what allowed me to actually raise my price, my price, and actually do it the right way. My price increase as several things improved. My haircutting ability, like you really have to give good haircuts. My scissor work, my consultation, my professionalism, my communication, my consistency, and my personal brand and my content. On top of that, the client experience and the demand for my time. You see, marketing and positioning are very crucial to a price raise. A $100 haircut doesn't happen by surprising somebody at the register. Like, that's what I feel like a lot of people think. When a barber says, "Oh, this is $100," that person in that chair agreed to that price prior to going to the shop. It doesn't just like, "Oh, by the way, it's $100 when you get to the shop." No one's doing $100 walk-ins. I promise you that. Maybe in the future, but as of right now, no one is doing $100 walk-ins. That's not how this works. So people on TikTok and on social media really need to understand that it doesn't like, "Oh, by the way, this is a prize." No, it doesn't happen that way. So people understand the offer. They choose whether the service solves their problem. Marketing creates awareness, and positioning creates trust. Trust is going to be the biggest thing, because at the end of the day, the experience will justify that decision. Not everyone can afford it. When I raised my prices, some clients told me, "Bro, you cut great hair, but I can't afford this anymore. Can you recommend me somebody else?" I never believed that made them bad clients. Not everyone can afford a $100 haircut, and that is totally okay, because a $100 barber isn't for everybody. When you enter premium pricing, you have to understand that some people won't come to you, and that is totally okay. You're not meant for everybody. Sure, it does happen to some people, but at the end of the day, it just won't happen, especially if you're in a small town where people's income fluctuates and stuff like that. You have to really show them the value. Like, look, this is what I charge, and this is why I charge, and this is what you're going to get every single time you come to me. It's not a if, it's not a but. No. This is it. And at the end of the day, one of the things that I had to learn was not get defensive or act entitled. Like, I am not entitled, right? I don't get defensive at the end of the day. Like, hey, you know what? If $100 is too much for you, I got other barbers in my barbershop that can definitely help you out. At the end of the day, people will determine the value of something. It's called also perception of value. I always would help people find a good barber. The thing is about good barbers that charge cheaper, it's really hard to get in with them because of how good they are, and their demand is so high because of how great they cut hair, you know? And at the end of the day, premium pricing has to be earned. Do I believe a barber can charge $100? Absolutely. I believe that every single barber is capable of charging premium pricing. You have to earn it through results, experience, trust, professionalism, reliability, customer service, and demand. There's no way that you're not going to do that. You're going to get $100 service to somebody just because you one day decided to like, oh, I'm gonna charge $100 today. No, that's not how this works. That is not how this works. Everybody wants to charge $100, but everybody wants to be the barber worth 100. Right? Like those are two different things, and I had to understand that very, very quickly. Because if you don't, then you're gonna be picking up the crumbs when no one books you. But making more money doesn't automatically mean you're building wealth or even running a healthy business. You see what I'm saying? Money, scarcity, and living below your means. The difference between making money and keeping money. A lot of barbers make great money. That's just the standard now. Every barber makes really good money. A lot of barbers make the bare minimum, and that is okay too. But the problem is that they spend it as quickly as they receive it. They start thinking about cars and the designer clothes and the luxuries and looking successful online. But the goal isn't to only make money. The goal is to keep enough to create a stability for freedom. What money actually belongs to. Just because money enters your account doesn't mean all of it belongs to you. Like I barbers, I really hope you understand this. I really want you guys to grab a hold of this. Some belongs to taxes, the business, payroll, overhead, future expenses, emergency reserves, personal loans. I've had to learn this myself, and it was one of the hardest things that I really had to learn, because in the beginning I was making $400 a week, but in 2016 that was a lot of money for me. Like I had to learn that I had to keep at least 70% of that in my savings at all times. I don't care about looking rich. I really don't. At the end of the day, I can flex too, but I choose not to because it's just not in my nature to do it. To me, it just didn't look right. For me, if the new financial freedom is having your bills covered, surviving a slow month without panicking. That is a huge one. Surviving a slow month without panicking is huge, because slow months happen. It's just part of business. It's the price of business. Actually, every business experiences some kind of slow month. And what success means for me today. Success is still having profitable days. It's still creating demand. It's still having clients pay premium prices. So if you watch this entire episode because you wanted to learn how I charged $100 for a haircut, here's the truth. Don't start with the price. Start with the person. Man before the money. Become more skilled. Become more professional. Learn how to communicate. Learn how to market. Learn how to save. And learn how to serve people. And learn how to control your emotions, and instead of letting them control your decisions. Heal the parts of yourself that keep showing up inside your business. The reason I charge what I charge today isn't because I woke up one morning and to decide that I was worth more. It's because for years I kept becoming better, and my price followed my value. My business followed my mindset, and my purpose became bigger than my own city and my own chair. You don't build a successful business first. You become the person capable of building one.